Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fantastic edition of Sitback with Shaq and Anu. It's a Thursday evening, it's 10 o'clock, and we're live on our platforms, on, of course, YouTube, and also live on Channel 1 Dialogue TV. Good evening, Anu, looking rather fresh and spiffy today.
Yeah, well, good evening, Shaq, and good evening, everyone. Yes, I must say, I feel rather fresh because, well, I've had a haircut, had a shave.
What hair?
Basically, it has been, how shall I say, an aggressive evening for hair. It's been helpless.
Yeah,
So,
swiftly moving on. Anyway, yeah, it's finally the end of the week for us, Anu. It's been another fantastic week of super guests on the show this week.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to our conversation with our guest tonight because this is a problem that a lot of women in Sri Lanka are facing, and not a lot of attention has been drawn towards it because it's a very taboo subject to kind of get into, and it shouldn't be. And anyway, by the way, Shaq, did you go to work today?
No.
Oh,
Well, this is live TV, by the way. You shouldn't be asking me those questions. Yeah, so
Anyway,
clearly got caught.
Well,
All right, so I think it's time for us to introduce a wonderful guest on the show today. We've got the founder and chairperson, of course, for the organization Free to Flow, Malsha Kumaranatunge, on the show with us. Let's have a chat with her. Hi, Malsha. Good evening.
Hi, Malsha.
Thank you so much for having me.
And how are you doing this evening?
I'm very sleepy. Your show way too late.
Well, this is time that we actually, I suppose, are very active in terms of getting lots of celebrity stuff sorted out. And this is also the time that I think we can get people like you, and different personalities, because they're free from their normal day-to-day lives, like, sort of wind down time. And I'm surprised that you're finding it difficult.
Yeah, my day usually, I sleep very early and I start very early. So I'm usually in bed by like 8 o'clock and I'm up at 5. So this is a very late night for me.
Wow.
I know what that's like, Malsha, because I have to get up early, 5 in the morning too, because I do a radio show in the morning, which I never make it on time for, but it is what it is. But I do get up at 5 in the morning. Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do right now, of course, we're going to kickstart the poll we have for you. We have a poll every day on the show, which of course is connected to our guest on the show or the topic that we're actually talking about. And we have a what number. We get so many messages that are actually coming in as far as the poll is concerned. So before we dive deep into the conversation with Malsha later on, get into the daily poll of the show. Let's have it on your screen right now.
All right. As you know, we custom make the poll to kind of suit the guest on each night, and so this poll is no different. It's a yes or no answer, and of course you get to send in your answers to our hotline number, and at the end of the show we will reveal the responses as they stand. So without further ado, this is tonight's poll. Right. Do you feel comfortable talking about your period to trusted people and the problems you face with it? Yes or no answers only. WhatsApp your answers to our hotline number 077 669 1590. All right, so that is it.
Yeah. Let's dive straight into the conversation. Malsha, before we actually get into the Free to Flow organization that you're heading right now, you come from a political family. You come from a family that, of course, has been on silver screens for a very, very long time. It's only obvious that you take either one of those paths and go a long way. What made you not choose either one of them? And yes, you were in the political arena for a while, but you've decided to sort of give that up, and now you're basically your own lady, so to say.
It's actually a very good question because I was in the Western Provincial Council for 6 years, and I feel like in the 1.5 years of starting, I've done so much more actually meaningful work, helped more people, and I feel like I'm actually making a difference, making a change, and doing more work, as to say, for people in this country, and especially women. Provincial Council felt like what I could do, it was more than, just giving some cement packs or giving some light bulbs or giving some roofing to people, which is what I was literally there for 6 years. But, through this initiative, I made so many strides, so many changes, and, this is me, and I'm very happy to do it.
Excellent, Malsha. So actually, you know what? Okay, did we just lose her? Oh no, you're there. All right. So basically, let's start off with this. Can you please describe the nature of the problem? What made you kind of prompt you to start Free to Flow as an organization, and what exactly is the nature of the problem, and how deep-seated or how serious is it?
I think when it comes to anything to do with a woman, issues she faces or her body, we always look at it from point. We're supposed to live our lives in secret. We're supposed to face our problems in secret, and just not talk about it. And I just felt like we as women, we should talk about it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not a secret, or it's not news to anyone. So what we basically started through this initiative is to get rid of the taboo that surrounds periods. Tell women out there to be ashamed of. It's not and let's talk about it out loud and proud.
Now, in terms. Sorry, Anu. Go on. You started something. Sorry. Go on. No, I mean, in terms of Free to Flow.
Yeah. Basically, I just want to ask the question. Unfortunately, this is when we are doing this online, because there is a slight delay, from the time you speak and the time it kind of gets aired, and as a result, we kind of stumble upon each other's, questions. But like I said, the other part of my question, Malsha, was that how serious is the problem in Sri Lanka? Why this? What prompted you? Basically, you must have seen some statistics or come into contact with something.
Actually, it was also more like the health concerns surrounding period, like especially when we used to go out to Colombo. The fact that me and my team, we would go out there and we would talk to these young girls and even the older women. When we would say the word period, they would look away in shame, like they were embarrassed to talk about it. They said, to talk about subjects that really do affect our lives and our health. We let a lot of underlying health issues also slide. So that was the biggest problem, when the issues that surround period are not addressed and women don't talk about it. It leads to more health concerns that can't be reversed. So I think that was the biggest issue that I saw surrounding this subject.
Why is that, Malsha? I mean, it's a natural process, isn't it? And why is it such a taboo? And why is it such a taboo for women to talk to each other about it? What's the reason?
I think, when I feel like if you raise girls, you teach them from a very young age that you have don't talk about. I even see talking about periods. You don't take care of yourself during those 4 to 5 to 6 days that you are menstruating. It can lead to bigger infections. These infections can affect the womb. So it also affects the fact that children are not in the future. So, and you know, when a woman during this time of her menstruating, they don't get, then you have some issue, it leads to a much bigger problem out there that maybe will be reversible one day. But the thing is, they do suffer in silence. They don't talk about it. Going to a gynecologist to them is also a very embarrassing, and they're shy to see. Most gynecologists we see are men, and they're shy to go and address their issues. So they suffer silence, and you know, to be.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, no, I think we're just basically we're gonna request Malsha to actually log back on again. I think we're just having a bit of an issue with her connection. So Malsha, I know you're listening to us. If you can just log back on again, I think we might most probably will be able to actually have a clearer connection. We will carry on the conversation. The moment Malsha gets back on the screen, we will basically have a chat with her. But yeah, so something that we really need to get into, a subject that is, everybody knows about, but still no idea as to exactly why it is such a taboo at the moment.
Shaq, I've done some research into this because I work with several organizations which also kind of, try to tackle this period poverty issue in Sri Lanka. For one thing, expense of sanitary napkins, how expensive they are, availability, and of course the taboo surrounding them is one big issue that I want to bring up with Malsha when she comes back on. But I think primarily the problem lies with religion.
You think
so? Because I firmly believe so, because most religions, if not all religions, kind of have sidelined the woman, and actually having menstruating. While you're menstruating, you're not allowed in to certain religious establishments. Also, you are seen as unclean, as in different faiths, and not worthy, because the fact that you bleed, you're not deemed worthy enough to kind of be treated the same way as men. So guess what? Patriarchy plays a big role, in kind of carrying that religious belief forward. And over millennia, this is what we have ended up with. This is not a problem isolated to Sri Lanka. Indeed, even in the developed world, this is still a problem.
I think this is something, a really good point that we need to speak to Malsha about. I think she's back on at the moment. Let's just have her back on the screen right now. Malsha, hey, welcome back. This is don't worry about it. This is technology for us, but we'll try and basically box on through. Anu, while you were away, brought up a very, very important subject or important point as to why this is such a taboo subject to talk about. Anu, do you want to explain?
Absolutely, Malsha. This is something I want to bring up with you. Because I also work with other organizations which are involved with period poverty. Namely the Grassrooted Trust, with Hans and Paba. And, something that I have noticed, for this taboo to be manifested like this, it's all, it's to do with patriarchy for one thing, and patriarchy fueled by religion. Because almost all religions view women, because they bleed, as unworthy to be treated the same way as men. You're not even allowed into certain you are treated differently from men. In many religions, you're not allowed to hold certain offices simply because you're a woman and you have a menstrual cycle. So that compound that over couple of thousand years, you get the taboo that we are faced with right now. What do you think? I mean, do you agree with that?
Of course, like if you really think about it, you can't go to a kovil or a temple if you have periods. Yeah, and even whether you bleed or not, you see, where the boat tree is, only men are allowed to go to the top tier.
Yeah.
Women are not allowed to go. But the funny thing is, the first boar sapling was bought in a woman's hair to Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Me as a woman, I can't go to the tree. And once I actually, I was following my father to go up to where the boar tree was, to right to the top, and the monk kind of told me, you can't come up here. And I was like, why? And he was like, oh, because women are not allowed. And I was like, it's because of a woman that this tree is here in the first place, but I can't go near the tree. And then my dad was like, oh, please don't start here. This is not this. But that is so true. But can you see that? It's not just about menstruating. I think women are just, we're treated anywhere in this world, in our own country, we're treated as second-class citizens.
Absolutely, and this holds true for not just the developing world. Even in the developed world, still, these biases, these patriarchal biases influenced by religion still persist. So, through this barrier, you need to actually build the self-esteem and the confidence of women. And of course, give, men, at the, base level, when they are, just starting out their education, this must be taught. That this is an essential function. Yeah.
Sorry. The only way to actually change is through education. From children, whether it's boys or girls, from a very young age, you have to tell them there's nothing wrong in talking about periods. There's nothing wrong in a girl getting periods. It's a biological thing. It's as simple as blinking or breathing. If you put these things into your children's mind, they're not going to grow up thinking there's anything wrong with it. But what we do is we tell the daughters, don't talk about periods when your brother is around or your father is around. I mean, when a girl gets her first period, they lock you up in a room for about 7 days. Yes. And say, don't look at boys. Honestly, I don't know where these traditions and things, and so I remember when I first got my period, I was locked up in a room for 11 days. And my dad was obviously coming in and out, and he's no one's going to keep me away from my daughter. But my mom's like, no, but a girl can't see a boy because it's bad luck for the boy, because it's killy.
So this same thing happened. This same thing happened, Malsha, with my younger sister, who I'm always very close to, right? So when this happened, I was 40, I think 15, and she was 13. Right, so we were like partners in crime, and she used to hang out with us boys all the time, play with all my cousins and all of that. So when this happened, I'm just thinking, I'm asking my mother and father, why the dickens can't I have access? You know what I mean? And like my best friend, what the hell is going on? And nobody even bothered to explain to us what was happening, The simple fact of the matter was, at 16, we had the Prajanane Padama in the Prajanane Padama, and we had a lady teacher, right? So she dodged it completely. She told us, the entire class, now I was a Risipatan at the time, she left. She hooked it
out those pages from their textbooks, so that children can't even read it on their own.
Yeah. I tell you, it's absolutely.
Malsha, what is a way forward to this? I mean, for example, now we're talking about the fact that Anu gave a very personal example. And at what age do you sort of explain this to a girl? And what age, obviously, you don't try and keep this away from boys also, because clearly they also need to know about it at the same time. What age? When do you do it? Why aren't parents obviously taking that step forward and doing it?
I think this all surrounds sex education in schools as well. I mean, I remember this came to the forefront when I was much younger. And I remember the monks and, as usual, the priests were against sex education being taught in schools. And it's just not a periods or the changes that happen to our body. I think for a lot of reasons why there's so much child rape cases that happen is because the children don't know what's happening to them is wrong. When I went to an international school, so at a very young age, we were taught all these things, like you will get a period, there are private parts to your body, that nobody should touch. There's a certain age, there's a legal side with all these things were taught. But in our local schools, we don't see these things taught. And recently we had a 12-year-old girl who was raped by her own family members. And the only reason they found out was because she ended up pregnant at 12 years old. When she was questioned, what she said was she didn't realize what was happening to her. So as a daughter, it's just something you have to do.
Right.
Why
Yeah. So the other thing I actually thought about was, look, we've gone through this whole phase of, education, a comprehensive education, which left us more messed up than we would have otherwise been. So I felt that, because I also have a son who's, going to be 11 this year, he is very conversant with what happens. He knows about the period. He knows about, sanitary napkins. He knows that his mother bleeds. He knows that, this is essential, a part of the pregnancy process. And, he knows he's up to date on it. And this is not taught by school. Because I felt that, look, we cannot wait until our education system kind of catches up with how developed society is and where it wants to go. As parents, I think we have a responsibility to talk to others, put this whole, nonsensical shame aside and talk to our girl and boy children, especially boy children, let them know this is what happens and this is completely normal. What do you think?
Of course, I think it's just not in school. It should be taught at home as well. I remember when I was young, my mother really hid the fact that she would get her periods from her two daughters. And, we would be wondering why there were always Pampers at home. That we really thought those were Pampers. And we would go on a mission, I'll be like, Nani, is Ami wearing Pampers? Do you think something's wrong? But to her, it was like a secret mission. She didn't want her own daughters, who will one day have to go through the same thing, finding out that she was getting her period. And I think it's really silly. And it's not just a daughter. We can also educate our sons as well. There's no shame in this. This is a process that all bodies go through. We have women are able to carry children because of this. So, they menstruate every month. It happens these 4 days. But I see a lot of those changes happening. Like my friends tell their children who are boys, Amma gets her periods. It happens 4 to 5, the egg releases. And the boys are like, okay. And so they grow up thinking this is something that happens and it doesn't need to be a secret. But what we see now, even as doctors, when you go, even the doctors are very like if it's a male gynecologist, they're also very to talk about it.
Absolutely.
I don't think we've actually discussed straight up in terms of periods as far as the nationality is concerned. And it's really good because we're actually making a lot of progress right now. And imagine the number of people who are watching us right now who are still living in that era, wondering what are we actually talking about. But now you obviously have started this fantastic organization called Free to Flow. Now, what does Free to Flow do? Explain that to us for a bit.
So basically our initiative, it focuses on eradicating period poverty. Period poverty is not just the fact that sanitary napkins or any sort of sanitation product is too expensive. It's also about women having access to such products. I see in Colombo and areas closer to Colombo, the more populous cities in Sri Lanka, they don't have this issue because their shops, their distribution networks work. But when you go to the smaller towns, when you go to the further off places, women don't have the ability to actually find sanitary napkins. One, it's also expensive. Two, it's something that just not stocked because the distributors feel like they don't have the means to also pay for a product which is quite expensive. So they don't see the need to have such stocks sent off to very far off places. So us as an initiative, what we do is we want to have more affordable sanitary napkins available on the market so that these napkins can reach the furthest places in Sri Lanka and help women be able to buy these things at a very reasonable price. Something that has happened, I understand the whole country is going through a very difficult situation. Inflation is rampant, like food, everything has gone up. And one thing that has really increased is sanitary napkins. A packet that I paid 250 for is now 450 rupees, 560 rupees. So that a daily wage is not able to pay that amount, because you need a pack or two when you're menstruating per month. So someone who's earning 1,000 rupees a day is not able to afford such expensive sanitary napkins. And sometimes it's not just you, you have two daughters in your house. So it's three women that need to have access to these products and they just can't afford it. And what period poverty also is that the women have to make a choice. Am I going to buy the sanitary napkins I need, or am I going to buy some food item for the house? And what mostly happens is, if they have to work, they will buy the sanitary napkins and they'll not buy some grocery items that are needed for the house. But most of the time what happens is they don't go to work, they don't go to school. In our distributions, we go around, we talk to the women about the issues they face, and I'm just going to say this out, like what they say is they have no money to actually buy the sanitary napkins. They also don't have money to buy material every month, because it's a mother and two daughters in the house. What they do is they just stay there and wash up. So the mother doesn't go to work those days, and the daughters don't go to school those days. And what I think as a country have to realize is, when our daughters are not going to school, it affects their ability to enter the job market one day. If our women are not going to work, our industries that the most amount of money into these countries are very women oriented. Most of the people working in these industries are women. If these women can't go to work, it is affecting our economy, the economy of the whole country. So that is how we have to see the problem, not women bleed and that's their issue. We have to realize is whatever affects women also affects our country as a whole.
Malsha, the question that I want to ask is, so how is free to flow, kind of impacting this problem?
Yeah, so we have been working with the governments on reducing the taxes for all. We have managed to get the custom duties completely removed, which actually helped on when the new taxes came in. Price of the pads didn't go up. It stayed the same as it was before. We are also now in talks with them to remove cess and PAL, which we're hoping in the upcoming budget, those also will be removed, which is what was told to us, and that would bring the prices of the pads back to where it was, which is 250 rupees. And through Free to Flow, another part of the initiative is that we distribute completely free of charge. We distribute reusable standard napkins. So we give a packet of 2, which they can use, wash up, and use up to 1.5 years. It's our small way of giving back to the women. We see this movement of sanitary napkins all over Europe and the US. Women are starting to wear reusable sanitary napkins. 1, because it's easy on their pocket. 2, it's also better for the environment. And it's a long-lasting thing. It's not like a pad packet that is disposable. And I know it's it's not ideal for everyone. But a lot of women, we have had a very good response from them, because just of the fact that they can use the packet for so long.
Malsha,
I think we just had
a question.
We had a question on the screen, Anu. Let's just jump into that question right now. I think
we'll get that back. But before I ask that question that has come in from one of our viewers, let me ask you this: there are other alternatives as well. It doesn't always have to be sanitary napkins, disposable or reusable. What about the period cup?
Yes, so there's tampons, there's period cups, but again, the thing is, we've actually had a survey and we asked women, what would you prefer? I think they're a bit more, how Sri Lankans are, they think a tampon take away your virginity. So this is what have been put into women's heads. So they're very, they were not very sure that they want to go with the period cup. I mean, the period cup would have been the perfect thing to give. It lasts for 5 years. And it's very easy to use. And I know friends who actually use it, they swear by it. But I think the whole taboo around the insertion of a product kind of scared the women a little bit.
So we'll get into the question that's been sent in by one of our viewers. This is it. What can institutions, employers, and men do to do to make a difference in reducing period poverty?
I think it's a perfect way of doing it is employers and institutions. The amazing thing they can do is provide sanitary napkins and also cleaner areas for women to, be able to freshen up and do change their pad or tampon or sanitary napkin in a workplace. A lot of women, they don't change their sanitary napkin as often because there just is no place for them to clean up and change it. So they wear this for a very long time. And what that leads to is infections. And that's very dangerous for a woman to wear pad for too long because it can have serious health issues. So as employers and institutions, I think fixing their surroundings, making it easier and not just institutions, even schools, where women can go and freshen up and change their pads and do all that, I think that will go a very long way. And even maybe in the future, providing sanitary wear for their workers for free. And the government may be providing sanitary napkins to school children for free.
Malsha, you obviously are doing this in terms of trying to basically battle the whole taxation of sanitary napkins outside the parliament, and you've actually gone a long way trying to get this sorted out. Now, this problem with taxations on sanitary napkins has been there for a very, very long time, and we've seen lots of renowned women who actually have been talking about it. But you do also have representation in the parliament. Why can't the female MPs actually talk about it? Because this is they're representing, not only are they representing the political parties, but they're also representing the ladies of Sri Lanka. So shouldn't they be actually taking the initiative and trying to bring the taxation down?
Of course, I think they definitely should. I don't think anybody has spoken about it. Again, a lot of women in parliament come from a very different generation. And they believe
Right.
that buying a packet of pads is up to their husband. Like they will buy it and give it to them, which is what we've seen a lot of women say at conferences and on news outlets. They're like, we don't need anyone to talk about our menstrual problems. Our husbands will buy us the packet. That's what they say. So again, it's the mentality, it's the education, it's the way we've been brought up. They just don't think that it's something that needs to be spoken about, I guess.
Actually, I had an experience, there was this big highlighted story about a year ago where, this lady was, shamed for buying a packet of sanitary napkins from a supermarket. And, somebody had said that, why don't you wrap that up or whatever, ever since that happened. And ever since I wanted my son to kind of, break this taboo. There was one time that I played catch at the supermarket with my son with a packet of, sanitary napkins. And people were looking at us like, what's going on? And my son was like, it was like the most normal thing for him. And then we just passed those, packs around until we got to the counter and, my wife was waiting there to pay for them. And this is like, trust you to make a scene about this. I said, look, this is how you break the, nonsense. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Sorry, I think as a father, what you're doing is great, and we should make a scene about it. It's nice when other parents or other people around you see that. They also realize there's nothing wrong. It's not like you're buying drugs and taking it home. No, there's no need to put it in a bag and something else and hide it and take home.
And I think drugs are sold with more impunity than that. You know what I mean? There is a lot more drugs being exchanged with a lot more in the open, and it's accepted. And I especially wanted to do this with my son because his friends were present, their parents were present, and just like break this taboo at the household level rather than waiting for the government's initiatives or education to change. Because the thing is, the more and more people talk about this in the open and act in the open, the taboo will naturally disappear. And, the bulk of the population of this country, 53%, are women. And here we are, you know what I mean? So this should be a non-existent problem, in my opinion. But unfortunately, because of patriarchy, this kind of persists. So I think we should, in my opinion,
Sorry.
Yeah, please say what you're going to say.
I think the media also has a big part to play in this because I saw an article in a women's newspaper where a male doctor had written this article. He had said, "Lajja නැතුව pad packet එකේ අතේ තියාගෙන වනවන යන හැටි ගෑනු කියලා."
Yeah, I saw that.
So he's saying women need to wrap it up, put it in like a whole newspaper, put it in a brown paper bag, then put it in a polythene bag, and then take it. But what we have to realize is, as journalists, for us to put that idea out there and have women and young girls reading it, what is the mental impact you're having on these young kids? You're telling them you should be ashamed of your body.
Absolutely.
I think that directly sort of takes us into the next question that's come from one of our viewers that's actually sent into us. Does period poverty impact mental health?
Of course it does. Basically, what we say is allow a woman to live with dignity. That's all we're asking. If me being a woman, if I can't go to a tuition class, if I can't go to school, if I can't go to work, I can't live my best life, and it affects me, and it will affect my mental health. And anything, if you're not able to go to
Malsha,
work.
Yeah, because the thing is this, the problem that we're having really is not necessarily too much in the urban area, is it? It's really in the rural area, and it's also it's also the girls who actually come to work in the urban area from the rurals, which of course is sort of transporting this taboo, so to say. But how effective is your work in the rural area? How much have you started changing the psyche in the rural areas and talking to these girls about it?
When we go for distributions, it's not just about giving a pack of pads and leaving. We actually talk to the girls. We tell them, when we walk in, when we say the word period, they do this. Like, that's every time we say period, one girl will look like 15 times. And at the end of it, we're like, there's nothing to be shy about. It's like breathing. It's like blinking. As women, you don't speak up. You don't need to hide it. There's no need to keep it a secret. There's no need to hide it so the boys won't hear. And, when we leave, it's a very different bunch of girls we leave back. It's not the same shy girls who thought that something was wrong with what's happening to their body. So I think it's opening up that dialogue, opening up that conversation, it really goes a long way. And we talk about if there is something wrong, go to a doctor. You don't suffer in silence. If you are having an issue, go and ask your mother to go and take you to a doctor. You need to talk about it. You need to get help. And there's no need to stay quiet about these things.
I actually have to bring up the point that although Shaq said that, most of the problem persists in rural areas, I think urban poor have it worse off because there are millions of urban poor. Although availability is not a problem, affordability is a big problem.
Yeah.
In rural areas, availability is the problem, and of course affordability too. But here you are brought up, you are far more better informed than a lot of peers living in the rural area, but you just can't buy it. So
Yes.
that's free to flow. Does free to flow kind of work in these urban areas too, or is it like
we have had distributions in a few Colombo areas, but I feel like the urban women, they prefer to have the disposable pad. And that's something, when we have researchers, we give out a questionnaire. They say they prefer to have the disposable pads because, when they go to work and stuff, it's just easier for them to survive with that. So, and the only way to help that is obviously again to fight the taxes, and also speaking with the government and making maybe more affordable pads available, these disposable pads available to these women.
Malsha, free to flow is, how are you getting your funding to sort this out? In terms of what you're doing is something, it's massive, and it's something that is ideally should be island wide, even though you're starting in pockets right now. Have you reached out to international funders for your project? How are you working this out?
So far, what we do is we crowdsource, we have events and things like that. And I know it's a difficult time and it's very difficult for companies not to help us out. But there have been a lot of companies who have helped us out with funding. In terms of international donors, we have reached out, but we are very new. So they ask a little bit more time for us, so where we can work and show what we have done. And I think we have achieved a lot, which we have also now gotten back to them with what our initiative has managed to do so far. So I think things will get better, and we're also in talks with the current government in helping us make this a nationwide project, and let's hope that things go further.
Malsha, the other thing was, have you ever thought about, tying up with other, grassroots level organizations who are also, involved in this? Because together, I think you will have a larger impact.
I would love that. We've had about 2 places that have reached out, and we always say, just tell us how many you need, you give us a list, and we will get the pads available to you. So you can give it to, because they're more aware of their surroundings and the people in those areas. And, so we welcome everyone to reach out, get in touch with us, and we would love to help.
Okay. I didn't sink into the depths of darkness. I just suffered a power cut. Okay. So I'm not in Hades or anything. It's just a power cut. Let me sort myself out.
A power cut at this time, Anu. This is unheard of, really. At this time.
Intolerable. Yeah. I'll be right back. I'll get a light and I'll be back.
Anyway, we'll let you go. This is live TV, by the way, so that's all right. So, Malsha, talking about now, this is something also that I wanted to sort of touch on when you were saying that you're talking to the girls, but the taboo also really comes from the mothers, which is passed down to the girls. Do you not think that the moms should also be part of this discussion? Because at the end of the day, there's only so much you can talk to the girls. The girls go back to their mothers, and mothers, of course, completely, they this is just a myth. You don't know what you're talking about. I am your mother. I know what's good for you. You listen to me, sort of story, which goes in every household, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. But when we have these distributions, because we distribute from girls from about 13 to women of about 45 years, until they reach menopause. So we have a big variety of age groups that are in our distributions. So the mothers are also there. And, mothers have come up to us and be like, thank you so much for saying what you said, because, we never saw it that way. But now, what my daughter will think differently about this when she moves forward. And we also, another thing I have to say, we've had a lot of men turn up at our distributions. And one man actually in Bandarwala said, can I please say something? And I was like, yes, of course. And this was at the end of the distribution. And he was like, as a father, I really want to thank you for what you're doing, because it's very important, educate. I have 2 daughters, and I'm very happy about what y'all are doing, because, y'all are educating my 2 daughters. And, as a dad, I'm very happy. And, it's very nice to see. And he actually came in our vehicle to the other distribution, trying to help us distribute it, because they realized there was like 4 girls who was doing all the work. So he was like, I will come with you. And he actually joined in on the active distribution. So it was very nice to see that, actually.
One of the things that I was thinking about, Malsha, was that, actually more men must be engaged in this discussion. And having said that, like, while you are involved in free-to-flow activities, have you faced any flack at all coming from societies or religious organizations or from the men themselves?
Where was it? I think it was in Yatiyantota. When we went, we had a bunch of young boys heckling us. They're like, apita mukud denna nadda, apita overling wadak nadda, And, I'm not going to do what I told them, because I don't know if it's appropriate, but, we managed to shut them up. But yeah, when they're like heckling girls, those girls don't want to come to a distribution either, because they're shy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard enough to actually... yeah, it's hard enough to muster up the courage to, actually talk about this, because it has been taboo for so long. And, part of the problem lies with education, patriarchy, whatever you may call it. And obviously, when this kind of heckling happens, but පොඩ්ඩක් නිකන් වපරහෙන් මිනිස්සු බලලා තියෙනවද මේ කරන්න යනකොට මාල්ෂා නිකන් පොඩ්ඩක් අමුතු විදිහට බලලා තියෙනවද මේ ගැන නැත්නම් ඒ වගේ
I had like, I think a lot from Colombo society. They were like, what's the difference? You know, reusable sanitary napkins, I think and they may read the name of. But the thing is, it's very different from using a piece of cotton to having a reusable pad, because a reusable pad actually works like a pamper. The only difference is you can wash it up and you use it again. So we're not going and distributing a piece of material to people and saying use that. It actually works. It has absorbent materials in the reusable sanitary napkins. It works really well.
And how much would a reusable sanitary napkin, how much does it cost? Is it available in the market or, you know?
Actually, what we produce for, we managed to strike a deal at that time. It was for a pack of 2. So it comes with a holder and also the sanitary napkin that you slide into the holder that goes around your underwear. We managed to get it at $280 for a pack. But now that I reached out again, we're on the last, I think I have my last 1,500 packs. We were told that we can't have it at that price because just like getting even the prices of those materials have gone up. So they were saying now it might be double that we would have to pay. So we have reached out to a few reusable sanitary napkin makers in places such as UK and the US, and hopefully they'll be able to donate the sanitary napkins they make to us in Sri Lanka.
It's nice to have the lights back on, Anu. It's nice to see you bright.
Thank you. Yeah, the lights were personally cut for 2 minutes and it came back on. What's going on? Anyway,
welcome back to the living.
Something I wanted to suggest was that, you know, what you are doing is absolutely admirable. And, you know, are you considering by any chance, you know, running for parliament? Because I firmly believe that somebody like you who champions women and, you know, the struggle that they go through at a very base level should be representing them at the highest office, and probably shout guts out at, you know, all these mentioned men you know, who stand for everything, against everything, you know, very worthwhile.
You know what, I would be lying if I said I want to go to parliament. Of course I would want to go. There are lots of changes I want to make, but I just feel at this moment I am able to do my work from the outside, and I'm able to get where I need to get and get the changes that I need made. So I'm quite happy with where I am right now, but never say never. We'll see what happens in the future.
I mean, you do have a lot of friends in Parliament or around Parliament to actually try and get those systems changed, and where you can continue to do work outside for free to flow. But from this point onwards, with the current situation we are facing, with the fuel crisis we are facing, you're going to obviously find it very difficult for you to travel to these rural areas and continue your work. When there is a lull by you doing this, is it difficult to sort of pick up the pace again when things come back to some sort of normalcy?
Actually, we have had about, the last distribution we did was to 1,500 girls in Jaffna, and I'm very happy that by January we were able to get that done, because Jaffna is someplace we really wanted to reach. But after that we had Kandy and we had Nuarelia planned. We had to cancel both of them because of obviously the fuel issue, and also traveling. We thought about traveling by train, but it's 4 girls in this project, so carrying that many pads and now things, it was just not possible, which is why if anybody wants to volunteer, please come join us. We would really appreciate that. But, you know, we're actually waiting till we can get back on track, because it was going so well, and all of a sudden my guest room is full of sanitary napkins with nowhere to go, and it's heartbreaking to see that.
How do they get in touch with you, Malsha? How do they get in touch with you if they want to volunteer? What's the process?
We're very active on social media. There's also a website, freetoflow.info. So send us an email. Everything you need to know is on that website. There's Instagram, there's Facebook. Just get in touch. We're all very active. You'll get a reply. And, you know, volunteers. We would love some volunteers, because it gets very difficult when you go into distribution, because there's so many people, and the filing, the entire system is done by 3 to 4 girls, and it gets very tough towards the end of the day. So really would appreciate all the help we can get.
මම මේ කතා කරලා බැලුවේ මල්ස දැන් ඔය කාමරේට හොරෙක් ගිහින් පැන්නොත් මේ මිනිස්සයා සමහරවිට හොරකම් කරන එක අතහැරලා දායි. මේ මොකද්ද මට උනේ?
If he saw a normal pad, he would know what that is. But when he sees the reusable one, podi kotta ටිකක් තියෙනවා මෙතන.
ඒක මේකේ දර ඉන්න මැඩම්ට පිස්සු නැත්තම් මට පිස්සු මම මේක අතහැරලා දානවා.
Malsha, like Anu said, a fantastic job that you obviously have been championing so far. But I think from what you have told us right now, clearly there are lots of obstacles in trying to get this house right now. Apart from your normal obstacles in trying to get through to these individual girls and their families, we have bigger obstacles right now in terms of the economic crisis, in terms of the fuel crisis, and so much more. And also looking to obviously get a whole lot of volunteers to be a part of this. From this point onwards, what is your plan for Free to Flow? Despite these obstacles, you still need to work around them, try and get it out there. What is your plan going forward?
I just have to say one thing. If anybody knows of any areas and have contacts in areas that need these sanitary napkins, please get in touch with us. We won't be able to personally come because of this fuel issue, but we can somehow manage to get the pads to you, because I know companies such as Aramex that has reached out and they have said, we will help you get the pads to where you need. And they'd be very kind to do that. So, so get in touch with us, and that would really help us as well, and help the people who actually really need it. And sorry, can you ask me the question again, Shaq?
So in terms of your future plans from this point onwards, like I said, we're going through an economic crisis right now. We're going through a fuel crisis right now. Yet you need to work around it, so you ensure the fact that the message still goes out. It's a double-pronged thing. You need to educate them. At the same time, you need to equip them also. Educating them, of course, you can possibly do from where you are in Colombo. You can actually have like Zoom sessions or whatever. But equipping them is going to be the most difficult part. How do you plan to work around that?
Since the whole distribution aspect of Free to Flow has come to a standstill, we as a team, we're doing what we can. Here in Colombo, like I have an amazing bunch of girls, from other initiatives, like we have Anuki, and then we have Aka initiative, that we all get together, we go and meet the ministers, that are in charge of these subjects, and we actually, we plead and beg them, have sex education in school. We met the health minister, he's been very open to this, and, we hope those changes happen so that, it's not about us having to have these things will be taught in school, and we're trying to use this time that was stuck in Colombo for put that time to good use.
Another thing that I was thinking just before we, kind of wind up the show is that, we can start this conversation right at home. You can actually put that taboo aside and talk to your children. And this way, you don't have to depend on, as far as information is concerned, you can have the right information and, self-esteem, build up, with more awareness about your body and your rights, if we get this conversation started. So I encourage all my friends who are parents, especially even non-parents, just to start these conversations with their children. Or, I usually go and harass the teachers at school that where my son goes to as well, and, urge them to talk about this. But I know that
how do you harass them, by the way?
By simply urging them to talk about it more with, especially, with
you
from
stand
younger
outside the gate.
So I just one thing that we can do, and I do hope that Free to Flow goes from strength to strength, and that much more awareness is created. And I do hope you end up in Parliament, Malsha. I think you really, really deserve it.
So I have your vote then, Anna? I have your vote, right?
Of course, without a doubt. I might run myself as an independent candidate, but I'll use my vote for you.
Yeah, I was about to actually say that I'm not too sure you might get his vote because he's also actually planning on running for parliament. So we don't know what's
I
going
don't want
on
to
there.
vote for myself. how narcissistic.
vote for each other.
Absolutely.
That's what you call a live on air deal.
Hundam type के deals में honest and nothing
Just
left in the dark.
transparent what you can get.
No, people are asking for transparent.
Absolutely.
Too transparent.
Right, I think we're actually at the tail end of the show. Also, just before we say our goodbyes on the show, I think it's time for us to get into what the poll was all about and how it actually turned out to be. Anu, go for it.
Yeah. So the poll was quite simple. Yes or no answer was sought. Do you feel comfortable talking about your period to trusted people and the problems you face with it? Yes or no? You were supposed to WhatsApp your answer to our hotline number 077 669 1590. And here is your response.
Wow.
I can't see that number. Is it 43%?
Yeah, 43.
Or 13.
Yeah, 43. Yeah, 43% say they feel comfortable talking about their period to trusted people and the problems they face with it. That's incredible. You know, I think I think it's a lesser battle that people have to fight.
I think, Anu, your harassments have worked. People are already opening up.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Don't ever. I strongly feel, Malsha, don't ever be comfortable with the status quo. Right? Just keep harassing people until it gets done when it's for the right reasons.
You know what? The other thing, of course, that we didn't realize the 43% over here is we're maybe looking also at English speaking and English listening audience out there. When you're looking at the Sinhala speaking audience, I think that number is going to go down drastically than 43.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also,
sorry. Continue. Please continue.
I said it also with people who up the slates. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's common for Anu and myself. I know it's very uncommon for you. So I think it's time for us to let you go before you fall flat there because you're sleepy at the moment. Anyway, Malsha, thank you so much for you. I'm sorry we didn't get you there. What was that?
All my friends, all they said was, please don't fall asleep on live TV.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. You've managed not to do that. Well done.
But Malsha, thank you so much for having a chat with us, because I think this chat is very, very important to all of us. As important as what's happening out there in Parliament and this financial and economic crisis and political crisis that we are going through. As much as these things, I mean, nothing lasts forever, and these things will be resolved. But this problem has persisted for thousands of years. So this is for me, this is the more important problem.
Agree. I hope that we are able, through talking about it, being able to change the way people see things and, understand things. And hopefully the future generations won't see it as such a taboo subject, and they'll openly talk about it and, talk about the issues they face.
All right, Malsha, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We're going to let you go, and hopefully, if you require any help as far as the organization is concerned, please do reach out to us. We'll try and do whatever we can to help you with Free to Flow. And thanks so much for being a part of the show, and have yourself a good night.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I have grown up listening to you guys, while I go to school, so it's a real honor to be here.
That's the worst thing you just said. No.
Why?
Because you just made us feel so old.
Oh God, no, that's not. It's just a big deal for me. I'm really happy.
But
deal with it. We are old. What on earth? Get over it.
Yeah, we are. Malsha, thank you. Have yourself a wonderful night, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
All right.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Malsha on the show with us and talking to us on the fantastic initiative of Free to Flow. It's time for us to go because our weekend just starts now. Anu, it's been another crazy week.
I have an early morning start. Thank you very much, Jack. Yeah. So I am free to flow right now, straight into bed.
You keep saying early morning, but you always end up there in the afternoon. They're two different things.
It's still live TV.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I had to
all
get you
good.
back because you asked me if I went to work today. So I had to get you back somehow.
All right.
All right.
On that note,
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot. And we'll have, of course, another set of wonderful guests lined up for you for next week. Till then, have yourself a great weekend. We'll speak to you Monday night at 10 p.m. Have a good night.
take care. Bye-bye.